today. I have no references, so I cannot say. Sometimes amazed how devotees really enthusiastically dive into this Prabhupada moods. And I don't see them coming out really very enlightened or maybe even spiritually strong. So whoever went off the road like this, well, in India there are so many wonderful Vedic ways to deviate. It's no place like India where personally I always feel like this is where you have to really stick to Prabhupada. Without Prabhupada, India is a huge, confusing place. Very dangerous to associate with these people who seem to be devotional, but you don't know what they carry behind. Indians are very clever. So there's always has to be a reference, Prabhupada. Yeah.
So Prabhupada mentioned in one purport, I think it's in 1865 or 66, it says that we should always worship upon Krishna as like Shyamasundara and not deviate to other forms like Rohan mentioned some forms. But what like Ramchandra, that's
I just read a letter where a devotee asked in an early stage, Prabhupada, if he can read the Ramacharita from Tulasidas. This is actually Ramayana in another form, but the author is not Valmiki, it's Tulasidas. Prabhupada says no, absolutely no. He said, he is a Mayavadi covered person and you should not touch this. And besides that, you should read Bhagavad Gita. That's 2 years of establishing Krishna consciousness in Europe, Devotees only came up with this. Prabhupada was mostly discouraging that. I never got encouragement even to read Mahabharata, even from my GBC or from my godbrothers. No, at that time. How devotees go to Vrindavan, and Vrindavan is one big shopping center with books. It was not like this before. You couldn't buy a book in Vrindavan, just some beads and some dhoti. Now it's just bookshops everywhere. And you see these Western devotees running around and sucking it all in. How do they even know the translation, practically, technically spoken? How do they know we translated the whole thing? How do they know if the text is correct? How do they know? Where's the reference? You know how strict Prabhupada was in translation and editing. Ending up, calling his editors rascals. How firm he was. And then people go and buy this book and that Veda and this thing and that thing and Varaha and the this and that and ooh-ha, Just technically spoken, how do we know? How do we know this is the original text? Can be verified. From whom? A superior saint. How do I know he's a saint? How many people in India look like saints? And they are not. So it's very unsecure ground. I would never dare in India to go around saying, right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong. I just say, I don't know. Leave me alone. I have what I need. I don't have to go in the bookshops and going, I don't have to know what Radharani is cooking on Tuesday. What is this to do with my life? Nothing. Just trying to keep some principles together and survive. Somebody is so advanced, he can go there, fine, try. But I can give you a devastating record of godbrothers or devotees who try to wrench in this direction and end up not being able to follow even three worldly principles. So let's stay realistic, down to the floor. We have so much to do. If you would just the whole life print only one single leaflet with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and distribute it to people, you would have enough to do. It's enough to do with that. Some prasadam, some vegetarian Saturday, it's enough. That's for whole life you can do that. And people will benefit. But of course, devotees want to know more. It's natural. You want to know more, you want to study, and knowledge is a very important thing. And that's okay. But we should never forget tapodivyam. It's always based on tapasya. And the tapasya part goes down and comes just divyam, this knowledge. Then the knowledge becomes just an academic exercise. It's sadly demonstrated in the history of ISKCON, unfortunately, not, but you can see, there's a warning there on the side. There's no need to go this way. And who is benefiting from that? Who? The people on the street? What do they know? So Prabhupada wanted that we spend our life in a massive attempt to build a base. When you build a base, you don't even see the house yet. When you build a base, well, it's not you pour concrete and you dig and this, but that's very important. If you don't have a good base, you cannot build anything on it. Prabhupada even went so far that before leaving, he said, I give you even the structure. You just fill things in. Don't change the structure. Don't change even the base. Just fill it in. That's all. Prabhupada said, if you just maintain what I gave you, you don't add anything new, it's going to be a success. Very, very basic, clear instructions. He was very worried we would do that. Speculating in deity worship, speculating in the philosophy, speculating in book publishing. He was very worried about that because the tendencies were already there. It was already lined out in front of him. He died in anxiety over the movement. Even he stated, no, I'm not disgusted. You did very nicely. He said, my Guru Maharaj, he left disgusted. No, I'm not disgusted. But he was very worried that we are going to tamper with this and change it. And in his letters you find all the time devotees restricted. All the time. Why are you asking this? What is this to do with you? Why are you interested in this? This is not our priority. So spiritual life is not just about learning and this, it's about priorities. Otherwise we end up in a situation, as they say, you cannot see the forest because of so many trees. You are in the middle of the forest, but you cannot see it. And that's the beauty of Prabhupada. He lifted us up and showed us, this is Krishna consciousness. You are already right away in the middle of the whole thing. I mean, devotees wrote him all kinds of issues. They said, I'm working so hard. Prabhupada, I cannot even chant my rounds. Prabhupada said, this is not very good, but there are situations where work is the chanting. That we cannot interpret today. But Prabhupada was just, right away there assisting the devotees with a difficult time. Relieving him from anxiety. They were complaining, this manager is building a temple here. He was not chanting for 2 days. He was running around the construction site. Prabhupada wrote back, Arjuna had also no time of chanting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He was completely protecting his manager. But that's an extraordinary situation. That's not the standard. So, let's be very careful with the priorities. Otherwise the important becomes unimportant and the unimportant becomes important. And that's leading to destruction. Where is it stop? We absorb ourselves in so many issues. One of my sannyasikos that is a little bit flipped out. He said, I am tired of these social issues being discussed all the time. Social issues means, us and them and you and me and all this. That's also part of Krishna consciousness. We know that. But we will not come to any conclusion unless the mission statement is not there. Unless we don't have a clear what to do. Then, when we do together what we have to do, in that frame, then one should be discussing these issues. But not outside of that. As one high-ranking devotee told me, you, and always you talk about the mission. What is he talking about? It's like some insult or what? You talk about Prabhupada's mission, you are insulting somebody or what? Why? Because the priority became the social issue. Do you like me? Do you like me? Well, sometimes. That's not enough. How much do you like me? Well, why should I answer this? Do you like me? I don't like you because you don't like me. Why don't you like me? I don't know. I just don't like you. Whatever, I don't like you. I can go endlessly with this game. This is endless. I really served in Krishna consciousness and the devotees I truly didn't like. And I was in a Sankirtan van, packed together with people which I definitely didn't like. Especially in the morning. But in the evening I liked them. When I came back from the street. And they came back and they were going, Hare Krishna, Hare Wo, Sankirtan Ki Jai. Then suddenly everybody liked everybody. Next morning we didn't like each other so much either. So it started again. So we went again on Sankirtan. And then in the evening we liked each other again. And again we went on Sankirtan. And ultimately when you look back, you have only good memories. I like them all. All these crazy people I had sitting sometimes in a van who actually went out and seriously tried to spread Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada. So you remember only that. That's the important part. When I get an email like yesterday that our German Sankirtan Acharya, you can use the word Acharya because he always served by example distributing books, Manananda Prabhu is dying. So, so possibly, yeah, it's very close to it. So, so that's a story which started already some time ago. In a very mysterious way. He just made an offering at home. Offered the incense and stopped. His brain stopped. They said, they brought him to the hospital. Brain stroke. No. They examined the brain. And his brain slowed down more. And they found out some very rare disease. Brain disease that they found months later. And now it's just going on and on. When the brain doesn't control the bodily functions, the body stops, It's all brain control here, it's the computer out there. So, how come? So what do I remember? I remember him all the time on that street. And he was a very eccentric personality, without a doubt. I could tell you stories you wouldn't even believe. But always out there. There was a time where there was only one Sankirtan devotee in Germany. That was him. And by his example, he inspired others to follow again. Absolutely dedicated. But eccentric nevertheless. You couldn't eat anything in front of him but he didn't taste. I saw one bhakta in a Sankirtan pulling something out of his lunch bag, which was not yet tasted by the Sankirtan leader. He said, what are you eating? What is this? I have to bite first. It tastes quite good. He was very tongue-oriented. But what a contribution to Prabhupada's mission. That's the honest thing which remains by the end of the day. What did we do for Prabhupada? What was our contribution? All these other troubles and all this, this is all going to be vanished. Death will take it all. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
feel 50 wives. It was my hearing that was wrong.
Dasharat? A lot. That was the number?
No. I mean, you did say 50.
Dasharat. 350, please. Never heard before, huh?
I just heard three wives.
Huh?
I just heard 3 wives.
That's also a foul number. I never heard this one before you.
One wife is pretty foul.
Huh?
One wife is pretty foul.
Sounds quite a number, isn't it?
I mean,
It's a bona fide BTG article. It was published in Prabhupada's presence.
yeah, no, I mean,
But I never heard this one either. I also saw here just 3 wives, but there must have been many more. That was certainly the principal wives, the main ones. I mean, not difficult. I mean, those days to accommodate with the name Dasharat. Dasharat means Dasha means what was this? Dasha is
fight.
10,000. Dasha is 10,000. Huh?
Dasha means 10.
It's the 10 directions.
He could fight in 10 directions simultaneously or something like that. I heard it interpreted like he could fight with 10,000 men simultaneously. That's actually for the Maharati. It's a lot. So in that context, yeah, why not 350 wives?
Oh, yeah, no, it's not a
But,
problem.
I never heard
I guess
this
I've
number
never
before.
heard of it.
Yeah.
Who has written this? Who has written this reminder? Or who wrote it?
Satsvarup, this is all Satsvarup's articles from those days. I can feel really Prabhupada's supervision in this, because he's using even the wording. Satsvarup is such a literary person, so he can use a completely different language. You know it from Lamrita. The first volume of Lamrita was published in such a language, it changed. The second one was already written in a very different language. Why? Because the first one was so academic, and somebody told us, hey, who's going to read this? This is too intricate for people to read. I mean, you need practically a dictionary to read all the time. I mean, he is like, wow. He can upgrade, languages. He can go with a language to different levels, write things. It's the problem that built in. When you have that kind of intellectual equipment, you can play with it. It's a big responsibility to be intelligent. So, therefore, in the Vedic times, intelligence was immediately trained by tapa to be austere in mind, austerity of the mind. But when you come into this eccentric, a genius, that you start to write everything, what's going on through that mind, dictated by that genius intelligence, you can eventually go insane. Happened to many. Therefore, genius and insane is so close, because you just crossed that border. A little bit esoteric maybe, but warning, it's a warning there. For those who are really intelligent, most of the people don't have that problem.
We don't have that problem.
They go, me eating, oh good. This is the level of the average man. Me eating, good. You sex, good. But when you are that kind of amazing brain.
He's definitely
I have few godbrothers who are operating on that level. Living in one sense dangerous lives, because it's dangerous to be so intelligent. Then comes the emotional part, which has nothing to do with that. The brain is here. What about your heart? What about the emotions? You can get scared of all these things you know. There were usually in the material world, genius people, they take to intoxication. Some sort of intoxication, because they have to forget sometimes what they know. If If you cannot forget, you go nuts. And then you get the spiritual knowledge. And then you know what is it not. You know that. And you are forced to live in a world of illusion with what is this not. Well, how do you accommodate all this? Emotional. Sometimes they go in a zoo and watch chickens, or I don't know what, because it's so peaceful, just to watch chickens and dogs or something. They are predictable. They don't have problem with genius. There's no genius chicken. It's quite predictable. So sometimes you see this kind of genius people, they are attracted by simplicity, because they are not simple. To be genius means actually to simplify things, not to complicate them. So that's where the Maya for the Brahmanas come in. When Brahmanas start to complicate things and not to simplify them, then they are disqualified. They are just speculators. And that's the genius of Prabhupada. He took something very complex and put it in a very simple way, essential way. No, you have to go and make out of the essence again something very complicated.
Prabhupada could also be very complicated.
Huh?
Prabhupada could also be very complicated if
he could see things nobody could.
Yeah.
There's a record of devotees walking with him on a beach. Prabhupada stopped. His eyes opened. There's a photo of this. Prabhupada. He said, they are here. They are here. The devotees, who? Who is here? I said, but I don't tell you. And then he kept on walking. What could he see? He could look in people's hearts. It's scary, when you have that ability. Sometimes Sankirtan devotees, so devotee get that gift, you can look in people's hearts. It's scary what you find. Prabhupada was sometimes very unpredictably heavy with somebody, and with somebody he was very soft. Because he was relating to the heart position, not to the brain position. But in a conditioned state, we don't see these things. We don't see the intention of the person, we don't see the desire of that person, the hidden motives. You just get carried away by the words and by the external things. It was fascinating to be with Prabhupada because he could always see things we couldn't. Like there was the Ratha Yatra, I just read it yesterday. It didn't went off the ground even. They started to roll the big Ratha Yatra chariot and the wheels fell off. There's many letters about that. And devotees were just flipping out, the whole event collapsed, including the chariot. They wrote to Prabhupada, a disaster happened, the wheel fell off and broke and we couldn't go and the whole Ratha Yatra is finished. And Prabhupada was not at all concerned. He said, no, it's obviously a construction mistake, so correct this. But it's nice you tried. It's very good you tried. You should establish Ratha Yatra. It's very nice. So it's nice you tried, and but then he wrote, Prabhupada, the Ratha Yatra event, the day, and all this is gone. There will be no festival this year. Prabhupada said, no, you can repeat it on Janmashtami. You can make Janmashtami to Ratha Yatra. It's also okay. Just fix the wheels and build it nicely so that it was not calculated how much weight comes down in the wheel. So he said, so we improve that and have a Ratha Yatra on Janmashtami. It's also okay. He was always encouraging the preaching at that. So, on other occasions, Prabhupada could be heavy like anything. Like when it came to editing and this kind of things. Whoa. Scary thing to edit for Prabhupada. It's really scary. He could be, on one word, he could be so heavy. What to speak if somebody took something out and didn't put it back? Then he could be really heavy. So
that was a rest, and that was a basis for that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. This was the thing, but so it was so exciting to be with Prabhupada because simply by looking at you, he gave you immediately the message. You knew, oof, that's me, the rascal. Or you knew, oh, I have a chance. Or Prabhupada could be very, very soft. Or the letters to Govinda Das, they are just, he doesn't even write here, my dear Govinda Devidasi. He always writes, my dear heroine, Govinda Devidasi. The Govinda Devidasi was always connected to the word heroine. Always. The heroine Govinda Dasi. There was obviously some lots of mercy coming on the head of that lady. Letters to Hansituta are really funny. It's a one big roller coaster ride. One letter, you and your wife are the most wonderful grihastas in ISKCON. And next letter, you rascal, how could you dare to close that preaching center down? I open preaching centers and you close them. This is your service to me. For me it's interesting to read because I knew Hansituta, he never emanated one doubt. That was his power in his preaching. He was so free of doubt. It was so attractive. People were joining right away. But in his exchange of Prabhupada, Prabhupada write to him, why are you asking me such a foolish questions? You have doubts? How can you even ask such a thing? So obviously, towards the spiritual master, that was like, but as Kshatriyas usually are. Kshatriyas are like that, They are like, no doubt, to the public. But in a domestic field, they are this, But as we put Kshatriya in a public forum, he just goes, follow me, like this. Sanskrit was like that. Big preaching effect. People were joining right and left. So much they put his picture on the altar in Prabhupada's presence. So anyway, so much to learn.